Woo! What's up, guys? Oh, how's it going? How we doing? What's happening? We got Hatecore in here. How's it going, buddy? How we doing? What's fresh? Looking for feedback? We can do some feedback. A lot of people were looking for feedback at the end of stream yesterday. I hope they come back today. But it's gonna be a mellow stream. We're gonna do feedback if folks want some feedback, and then we are going to work some more on Order 1 today. Is the plan? We have a fresh set of tracks that we're going to get started on this time for a spacewalk section, which is going to be a ton of fun. MX, how's it going, buddy? Good to see you. Oh. But yeah, so it's gonna be a good day. It's gonna be fun. Probably won't be a super long stream today. I have some domestic things that need attending to, but we will definitely at least get a good strong start on this track for Order 1. Also have a little bit of gameplay to show off from Order 1, which is pretty cool. We love it when we get gameplay footage from games that we're working on. No more uni work for this. Excellent. We love it. We love being done with work. Oh, but yeah, it's mellow day around here, quiet day around here. So we're just looking forward to getting stuck in on some good scoring stuff. D2, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Day's been fine, just fine. We are, just ate some lunch and did a few revisions for people this morning. Sent off some tracks, got some things approved. We were working on that somber track yesterday. I was just doing a couple of tweaks on that and then submitting the final to the developers, and they are very happy with it. So, and I got the next round of tracks from them, which we will probably start on next week. Also, we had done a track for this pop artist based in LA a couple of weeks ago now, and it finally looks like I'm going to get some vocals back on that, so we'll get to mix that, which will be fun, and then hopefully get some more tracks to do on that record over the coming weeks and months. So, lots of projects, just working, doing the thing that we do. But yeah. So let's go ahead. We got Hate, who is looking to share a track. So let's bounce over here real quick and kick things off by checking that out. And then yeah, we will be open for feedback here at the beginning for a little while, and then we will get into working on Order 1, as I said. But we've got this from Hatecore, a little repetitive, but that's kind of the vibe I'm going for. It's a finished release, so any feedback we'll use for future endeavors. I see. Very good. How's it going, Floven? Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, we have moved to just SoundCloud for a whole bunch of reasons.
There's more to our story, baby.
up, Jotty? Good to see you, buddy. Welcome back. Given that the track is nearly 8 minutes, we are just going to skim a little bit.
More to our story. Open up your eyes and see. There's more to our story.
I love this. Is that just pitched or is that vocoder? It's very nice. I dig it, man. It's solid. It's super groovy. Great sound design as always. Repetitive, sure, but it makes sense. Tune's called Take Your Time, but you're doing enough and there's enough interest going on that I don't think, if you were locked in and this, just like vibing out to this, I think, I don't feel like it gets overly repetitive. But really, really, really nice work. Real quick over on the YouTube side, Harshal Gupta, hi, play Hindi songs, play Hindi songs, play Hindi songs. So this is a really interesting thing that keeps happening on YouTube. People on Twitch tune in and they're like super respectful. They want feedback on their tracks. They produce all this cool music. We talk about it. We talk about my workflow and stuff. People in YouTube chat, like 9 times out of 10, they come into my YouTube chat and they just scream demands at me. Like half the time they don't even say hello. They just start demanding that I do things. Like play certain kinds of songs. They demand that I play a certain instrument. They don't ask. They just kind of inform me that that's what I'm going to do. It's really bizarre. I don't understand what the difference is between I've literally never seen this on the Twitch side. But on the YouTube side, it's multiple times per stream. People just show up and just start demanding that I do things. And I get a huge kick out of it. I think it's really funny. Somebody came in yesterday and just started spamming play gent guitar. I'm like, look, I could. I have an 8-string, literally, a headless 8-string, literally right there. I could play gent guitar all day. But because you came in and just demanded it of me, I'm gonna not. Is that? Yes, this is my drink. I'm a jukebox. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Birdland. Good to see you, buddy. It's very, very funny. But we just, if you came in and was like, hey, how's it going? What's going on here? And let me explain what's going on here. You wouldn't even waste your time spamming the messages. But I would imagine that whoever the guy was who's just demanding that I play Hindi music is not even watching anymore. I get the feeling these people just sort of rotate through streams and just spam. And if they don't get a response or, don't have the streamer acquiesce to their demands in 5 seconds, then they just leave. And it's okay. It's whatever. That's fine. It's just, it's weird. It's a different, different culture. Track's solid, man. Track is very solid. We didn't listen to the whole thing because it's 8 minutes long. But no, it's a really nice vibe. I don't have any particular thoughts. Sounds nice. It's well mixed. I think, it's like -5 LUFS at the very beginning and in the breaks and stuff. I feel like there could maybe be. I know you like to go loud, but I don't know if the breaks need to be quite that hot. Where it's just vocals and pad. I like the kind of, I don't know if it was a vocoder or if it was just a repitched second parallel of the vocal in the second break. was really really nice. But yeah, great sound design. It's groovy. I don't think it gets repetitive either. Like it's definitely like a long tune, but you're doing enough with the sound design, and you're doing the thing that I always tell people, where it's like something should change every stacks of harmonies. Okay, yeah. Something should change, like 4 bars, 8 bars, 16 bars. Something should change, frequently, and you're doing that really really well. In it. So it didn't feel like it was going to get overly repetitive to me. Yes, arrangement is key. Absolutely. But now it's groovy, man. It was very, very cool. 5 stars. Yes, and that's, as long as something is changing and something is getting more interesting and going in different directions as time goes on. I mean, I would see it MX. I would see this on like a focus playlist. I have plenty of playlists that are especially more for, and I listen to more ambient stuff, like when I'm reading, particularly. I'll just put on like, I've found this new label recently, Cryo Chamber, which is all like just like dark, minimal ambient stuff. And those, I mean, there's tracks in there that are 15 or 20 minutes long, where it's just like texture for 20 minutes. And it's nice to just like have a nice background vibe. So I would put this track on all day long if I were like gaming, and just like have it vibing, in the background. I think it's a very, very appropriate for that. And honestly, I prefer a tune that has a vision that's 7.5 or 8 minutes long to a tune, or that has has nailed a vibe. I prefer that to a tune that's like, that has a nice vibe, but is 2 minutes. Because I guess unless it's like a straight up pop thing, but I like all the time I give feedback on tracks nowadays. And I know, this is partially just kind of like, especially like the whole short form content culture is kind of a factor, here. But, like a lot of kids come in with really amazing like future bass tracks or rhythm tracks or drum and bass tracks, and they're awesome, and they're like 1 minute and 45 seconds long. And I'm like, I'm not saying it needs to be a 14-minute epic, but 3 minutes would be real cool here. Like, you've developed a great vibe, and I want, like, it's okay to just have more of it. Like, it doesn't have to. Why would it end so soon? You like set up this killer groove and this insane, beautiful drop with all this sound design, and then you drop and it's like 4 bars, song's over. And I'm like, no, but you had so much runway in front of you. You had so many cool places you could go. What's happening? Where did the song come back, song? So I like longer. I always like longer, generally speaking. Sweet spot, I think, is like 3 to 4 minutes. Well, sure. And, we all want TikTok to die. So at least I sure as hell do. Yes, of course, Jody. I am happy to field any and all questions. But let's check out MX's track. While you type up your question, and then we will chat about it. We've got from MX, working in FL. I don't really know if the mix is sitting right. Want to release this by the end of the month. The thing with 1 minute 45 songs drum and bass is that you usually just play one drop in a set and move on. In some places you even play 180 BPM. It really depends on what you make the song for. Me personally, I'd say, well, sure, but just because you're only playing part of a track in a mix doesn't mean the track needs to be short. You could just play the middle of it or the beginning of it or the first drop and then move on. That's fine. Or let's just the second drop and move on. But I struggle a bit sometimes with trying to find new stuff to listen to, because I'll put on playlist and it just snaps through stuff so quickly. I feel like I never have a chance to like appreciate a nice section of a tune because everything moves so dang fast. But regardless, MX, what you got going on? Since we're mainly thinking about mix here, I'll kind of call it out as I hear it. I think the main row bass is maybe just a little bit too prominent, and it's got a lot of resonance around that 200, 250, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I think the main thing I'm hearing here, and this is, we talk about it all the time, but this build up around that 250 region. So I'm just going to notch there on the EQ. Immediately cleans that sound up. I feel like this is begging for a pad. Of some kind. Yeah. And I think around here, I would love to hear that bass doing something a little bit different. It's feeling a little bit copy paste from the beginning. So I think either changing up the sound design or the part or both would be wise in this going into this back half. So I would say if that's the idea, MX, I would maybe then simplify it and like lean more into the drums because it's still pretty full on here, right? And so like I'm trying to think, what's up, Out of Sight? I'm trying to think from the perspective of a DJ, which I haven't done in a long time, but I certainly have spun some tunes in the past. And usually when you have like a more extended mix that the goal is to be able to layer in a new track on top of, you break it down to like just drums, or you simplify it significantly so that there's a lot of room for you to layer that next track on top of it, right? So that's a cool concept. I would then maybe even simplify that bass or go to something more like Reese-ish, something more subdued, something that leaves more space and like focus just on the drums. As you get into the second half of the tune, so that then there's room for like if somebody throws like a more melodic track on top of it, there's room for that to happen, right? Like I could even see this back half like lean away from that big bass sound, and there was a moment you've got this almond break right here. You could layer that almond break on top of this groove and have it get real like jungly for a little bit and lean away from the sound design space and leave room for basses and melody from a second track, for instance. Because I would be a little concerned that anything I put on top of this would start clashing, particularly with that bass. It's a very cool sound. I'm not complaining about the sound. It's a well-designed sound. But it's taking up quite a bit of sonic real estate. If the intention is to have a nice, big, long, extended section to do like a beat mash kind of a thing with it. But yeah, other than that, I think the only real thing I'm hearing with the mix feels pretty nice. It's a little bright, not in like an unpleasant way, but it is definitely like a brighter mix. But like kick is punchy, bass feels pretty well balanced. Just like some low mid build up here at like 250, I think could use a bit of cleanup. But yeah, other than that, I think that amen break in that beginning section could be a little louder. But other than that, I think the mix feels pretty decent. It's like cool, the interesting lead tone. But yeah, I think there's room for a pad in here somewhere, like a real dusty, kind of distant pad would be really cool. And then, yeah, just the second half feels very samey to the first half. And so I would say, like, if it's just supposed to be a long tune, then I would change something up about it. Or if, what you're saying is like, oh, it's kind of designed for that to be the transition section for a DJ, I would think about maybe pulling some punches with that bass, leaning more into just rhythm and make sure that you're giving room for whatever that next track is going to be to layer in really cleanly and not have any potential like note clashes or, things like that. So, but very cool track. Great groove. I like how you kind of don't have much in the way of ghost notes. And then like at the ends of your phrases, you've got that comes in, which is really cool. So, I like it. Strong work, sir. But no, Jotty, you're ask a very good question here. Um, I usually produce pretty sample based since I'm in the hip hop space. What's your take on clearing samples as a still unknown artist? Should I even worry about it? Because I feel like nobody cares as long as the songs are not blowing up. Um, that's a very good question. Out of sight, yes, queue is still open. You're welcome to jump in. You'll probably be about the last in queue because I want to get working on this order one track. Um, but Jotty, I mean, yeah, it's a hard one. It's not even so much about like whether or not they care like let's say you sample, I don't know, like some old jazz, like an Al Green tune or something. Uh it's not even as much as like, oh, his estate is going to come after you or something like that. That's not really the problem you run into until you are really big time. What you run into is just a lot of headaches in terms of things getting copyright, not strikes necessarily, but you can have stuff get DMCA'd, you can have stuff get copyright strikes, or you can get stuff, particularly if you put it up on YouTube or YouTube Music, you can get revenue, ad revenue if that's a part of what you're trying to do. Or certainly, if it goes on Spotify or something, they will redistribute your royalties to who you sampled. And if you don't care about that, then that just kind of is what happens. But like, it's honestly kind of a huge issue. Like, I remember I was doing an episode of Nomadic Bard, the travel documentary series that my husband and I were doing together for a long time and will continue to do in the future. And I wanted to use, this is a bit of different, I wasn't sampling it in a tune, but I wanted to use one of my parents' songs. It was a city in Spain called Ronda that we were visiting and shooting an episode on. And my parents do some flamenco stuff. Uh, uh, and they, uh, uh, I tried to use the track in the edit and I uploaded it. And this is my parents' music. Like, they 100% have the rights to their music. I had their permission to use the music. There's no way to supersede that. And so the second I uploaded the episode with their song in it, I got not a copyright strike, but a copyright claim on the video. And it was like, we're going to limit your visibility and all this stuff. And it's like, it's literally my parents' music. And I called my dad and was like, can I use this? He's like, yeah, of course. There's no way to fight against that. So it's not even as much about people coming after you. It's about just there's so many automated systems in place that can snipe your tune, take your tune down, limit visibility of it, stuff like that. So I don't really have a good answer for you, unfortunately. I would like, and that, like, this is the problem. Even if you get the samples cleared officially, like, even if you like reach out and agree to pay royalties and stuff, these systems will still nab you. And, then there's no real way to there's no real appeals process that works particularly well. Even if you get the clearance to use something, you can try to submit documentation. There's like a 10% chance it's going to work, right? So that's, I think, the more than having somebody like try to sue you or something. I don't, that's exceptionally rare. Um, Unless something does blow up, like MX, yeah, sampling could get out of hand. I know a story when a person had a bootleg remix blow up and he almost got sued for using a song that was adminned by Sony, BMG, yeah. If your song totally blows up, at some point, at any point, that can happen, but it's pretty rare. What's a much bigger problem when doing stuff with samples is that it just gets nabbed by a copyright claim algorithm on the platforms. So if you're trying to distribute in all the places, Apple Music and YouTube and Deezer and all this stuff, like you run a much bigger risk of that happening. SoundCloud, I don't think it happens nearly as much. So if you're just uploading to SoundCloud, you probably don't have to worry about it as much. I would try to rely on royalty-free sources for samples or trying to source your own. This was on SoundCloud. Yeah, well, so what I mean is like SoundCloud, I don't think has nearly as strong of automated algorithms that will claim stuff. If you release something on SoundCloud and it blows up and gets a lot of attention, then if it gets across the desk of Sony, yeah, then they will manually like DMCA you. But SoundCloud is not, to my knowledge, like YouTube, where it has a content ID system that runs on top of every single piece of uploaded media that automatically performs copyright claims, right? So, which I believe Spotify and probably all the other major streaming platforms have. SoundCloud, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, has that. So you probably get away with it on SoundCloud as a small artist. If something blows up, there might be trouble. But again, the more pressing issue for small artists is less about that and more about just the fact that you'll get copyright claimed. And that can limit the visibility of your music and potentially, even get it taken down. And certainly like on YouTube, if you get a full copyright strike, you only get 3 of those before they will permanently delete your shit, which is no good. So, so yeah, I would recommend as much as you can relying on something like Splice, trying to go crate dig for stuff that might not be in those systems, like really obscure old tunes, especially like interlude tunes from around the world, have a better chance of kind of slipping by some of that stuff. But yeah, or, as much as you can, like producing your own stuff, it's certainly possible to like make, horn parts or drum parts or something and treat them through the mix and production process to sound like they are sampled. That's the approach I've always taken. Is like, yeah, like I don't want to run the risk of using like a sample from a soul record. I'm going to build a drum groove and a little horn part that sounds like it's from that era and then like run it through a cassette and a vinyl and a filter and compress it and do all this stuff and make it feel like an old soul record that I've then grabbed a sample of and put a beat on top of. That's harder, but that's kind of been how I combat it. Yeah. Yes. Oh no, my pleasure, man. It's a good question. And I know, it's tricky. Like it's really tricky, to know quite exactly how to handle it. So anyways, I hope that's helpful in one way or another. I know that's kind of a non-answer, but I hate to be annoying, but can I send it as a YouTube link this time? Can't remember what the FL project. Yeah, sure. You can post the YouTube link in chat, out of sight. That's okay. Oh, I just SoundClouded it. Okay, there you go. Well, never mind. Sorry, I was off on a train of thought answering that. I didn't see your question, but I wanted to finish answering Jotty's question first. Floven. Hello, Floven. It's so good to see you again. Unfinished just layered down my ideas on this one. Very cool. And mostly paying attention to the composition here. Floven always does very interesting stuff, so let's check it out. Thank you, MX. Not that it super matters, it's just piano, but... Interesting. So, sort of and then you go here. That's a very interesting change. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so the way you do harmony is so interesting, Flovin. I think my thoughts for you here, first of all, there's a few spots, I would assume you're thinking in 4/4, but there's a few spots where it feels like there might be a little added eighth note, just timing gets a little bit funky. If that's intentional, it makes it feel a little bit jilted in a few spots, which, you know, obviously it's definitely a more dissonant piece. So if that's intentional, that's how it feels. If that's not intentional, you know, you might want to take a peek at it. I think, so harmonically, tell me if this is what you're going for, but what I'm hearing is essentially like D minor, A augmented. Oh, here, let me open our keyboard is missing. There's our keyboard. To like D flat, second inversion minor, to sort of A major is kind of where I'm hearing the bass, like the core concept of the harmony going here. It's intentional. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, it definitely adds to an unexpected air of it. I feel like there are spots where the harmony gets a little too dense for its own good, and it feels like you've got a lot of notes ringing out from other chords that are clashing a little more than maybe they need to. I am all for dissonance, and obviously there's a lot of very like dissonant stuff going on, but if you go too far in that direction, you can end up with situations where it feels a little smashy, it feels a little all the notes, and starts to feel less intentional and more muddy, I guess, harmonically speaking. So I would just drill down and look at those moments where stuff is hanging, like particularly on the transition from that back to there. Because if I just don't lift my sustain pedal, there's so much chromaticism going on there that when things start ringing over other things, it can quickly depart like, ooh, what an interesting change, and get, more into just feeling sort of like... that kind of a sound, which doesn't really give your ear a lot to latch onto. So yeah, I would think. Trying to leave a little bit more like deliberation in the chord shapes, a little bit more space maybe between those changes, to help each one really feel like, okay, here's where we're at harmonically. Even if it's very dissonant in contrast to what happened just before it, and maybe you let it ring in a few very select spots. Yeah, I always call it like justifying your changes is the phrase that where it's like really drilling down and being like, okay, all of the notes that are happening at a given time, can I kind of justify their existence? And if there's excess in there and you go, well, this is really just kind of ringing out from what I played before, probably don't need them there as much because it's just going to cloud that moment of harmony, right? Even if that moment of harmony is very dissonant or very, tense or what have you. I do also think that, you could go further because it's really just that cycle. It kind of sits in that range and it just goes through those four chords. Ish. I don't know exactly how you're thinking about it, like I said, but that's kind of how I'm hearing it. D minor, and then like either like a Phrygian dominant kind of a thing or full A augmented, and then the D flat minor vibe, and then back to an A major or A Phrygian dominant kind of a thing. That's the cycle. So I do think it could go some other places since it just kind of hangs out there in one register. So I would explore some different directions as well that you could take it and kind of, maybe send it to some different places. But you always, I always look forward to seeing your name pop up in chat for feedback because you always do really interesting stuff. And it's definitely like, I think it's really good because everybody in chat immediately got the same vibe, which is like, oh, I can hear exactly kind of what a situation where this music would play is, or this is the exact like emotion or imagery that I got from this. And it's consistent. I think it was 2 or 3 people were all like, oh yeah, like the main character has learned something disturbing about their childhood home. Who said that? It was great. Out of Sight said that. And Jody agrees. So yeah, that's really good. That means you've got really clear vibes going on. So yeah, just clean up the harmony a little bit. Think if there's different places that you could take it. But it was very interesting, very cool, very creative. Your stuff always is. So strong work. All right. Well, on that note, thank you very much for sharing, Floven. Always good to have you around. Out of Sight, you are going to close out feedback for us here with this track. Let's see here. Old project from 7 months ago. Thought it might have potential to extend. Okay. Working on FL, feedback on everything. Very good. Yeah, this is a nice setup, I think. And there's, again, like we were talking a while ago Out of Sight about like traditional, like sort of trad harmony, traditional jazz harmony, versus more modern jazz harmony. This definitely leans more modern. But yeah. It's a very Phrygian vibes here. So we would look at this as being technically in the key of A flat. C minor, C sharp, major 7, E flat 13 with a 13 in there. So I would say yes, it's a nice setup, and really I would just start to think about all of the different places that you could take this. So just to throw a bunch of ideas at you. That's like a little more classically. You could go there, like basically think of that, do it, sort of a tritone maneuver off that flat 2 to like a G. Right? You could lean major on the root chord. Is always really nice. Treat it more as a chromatic thing. There's a ton of different directions that you could go. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Treat the where you're starting, that C minor, as the 2 of a 2-5-1. But then deceptive cadence to an A flat. I really like that personally. That's really cool. That's like a little bit of both, like traditional and modern harmony. So it's like C minor, D flat, E flat, back to the C flat, C minor, G, F dominant, A flat major 7 with the 13 in there and the 9. And then you could go and resolve back around to there would be really cool. Yeah, there's like a million directions you could go from this. But this really, yeah, absolutely go for it, man, by all means. But this is like the change here is it's really closely related to the everything in its right place changes.
Trabi 222 wants feedback on their song.
That's everything that's right place by Radiohead. But there's like I did a reharm of that years ago. Just like, first inversion, 4 minor, back to that flat 2. Yeah, it's a great space to write from. And you can kind of play around with, like, where it's at right now, like I said, is going to be Phrygian, third mode of A flat major, C Phrygian. But you could treat it as Phrygian dominant. right? And get that natural third in there in relation to the C. And even just play, sometimes using the C minor, sometimes using the C major. Yeah, there's a zillion things you could do, but it's a super cool start. And it feels like it's really building into something. Like this feels like a good kind of intro vibe. What's up, Frobby? What's up, Day? How's it going, guys? Unfortunately, I did just close Q not too terribly long ago because we do need to get into working on Order 1 today. But I should be back tomorrow, same time as always, to do a little more feedback. So, but really, really nice job, man. This is definitely a cool idea. I definitely think there's room to extend it out. And yeah, I would encourage you, out of sight, I know I've said it before, but if you have gotten your hands on the real book or a copy of the real book, a fake book, as we would call it back in the day, looking through those tunes, looking at some of the chord voicings, looking at some of the chord patterns, and doing simple theory analyses of what's going on and why. Really great one is the Autumn Leaves changes. Which is basically just like a 2/5 cycle of resolution. And you can look at a section like that of a tune. And look at the melody and look at what the chords are doing and say, okay, how does this chord relate to the next chord, relate to the next chord? And you can kind of like draw brackets around things and go, okay, well, this is a 2/5 to that. And then it substitutes a minor here and goes to 2/5 to that. And that is a really, really great way to like get to grips with and build a system for yourself. Like that's when you say it's like, it's cool to watch me like do this. That's what I'm drawing from in my head, is just playing a ton of tunes, like we can even do one just for fun. I don't know. Let's look at like Blue Bossa or something. Let's look at a chart for Blue Bossa, which is like a super classic standard. Just give me the lead sheet to Blue Bossa, internet. Yeah, sure. Here we go. Hang on. Open link or open image, new tab. We can do this super quick because it's a really simple form. Let's jump over here. And you absolutely, like, you don't need to get a degree in this stuff at all. Because it's not like a degree can be cool. And yeah, obviously if you want to like go, do orchestration professionally or something, but like, I don't have a degree. I didn't go to school for this. I learned everything on my own by trial of error. Now I have a dad who's a successful musician, and he taught me a lot about music theory and stuff. But I have known lots and lots of people who are excellent writers, excellent songwriters, excellent arrangers who never, ever got a degree. But like, just to kind of show you how doing this kind of an analysis works, here we have Blue Bossa, C minor, F, right? So C minor for 2 bars, F minor for 2 bars, D, that little slash through the circle. What's up, Ruben? Good to see you, buddy. We call that a D half diminished, which is a D diminished triad. So D, F, A flat with a C on top, which is the flatted 7th. A full diminished would be that, stacked minor thirds. But but that means half diminished, right? To G dominant with a flat 9, back to C minor. So I can look at that and say, okay, if we call C our 1, F is our 4, okay? Then D is our 2, half diminished. G, I don't care about the flat 9, so just call it a G dominant to C. So that's 1 to 4, and then a 2, 5, 1, a minor 2, 5, 1, back to C. Then it goes up here. Why would it do that? Well, it goes up to E flat minor, A flat, D flat. Well, look at those root notes. Oh, it's a 2 flat, or it's a 2, 5 to D flat. So you could look at that a number of different ways. Since we're now in major, right, resolved to a D flat major 7, we could say, okay, well, we were in kind of a minor key center before, right? C, and then a minor 2, 5 to C. Well, C is the relative minor of E flat. So this whole first portion of the tune is in E flat, okay? Well, then suddenly we get E flat minor. It goes from this, where all that C minor, F minor, all that stuff is over E flat. And then suddenly it goes to here. When I talk about modal interchange, this is the simplest form of modal interchange you can do. You're just changing the fact that you're in a minor or a major place to being in that same, like based on that same note, so E flat, but treating it as minor. And then that becomes a 2, 5, 1 to D flat. And we end up here, right? Oh, the D flat major 7. And then it just goes up. There's our D flat triad, right? D flat, F, A flat. If I literally just move that D flat up a half step, actually, whole thing, D flat major 7. Just move the D flat up one note. Oh shit, look at that. It's that same D half diminished chord. Back around to C minor, right? So you've got C minor, 1, minor 4, 2, 5, 1. All that's in the key of E flat. Pivot from E flat major, which is this key, to E flat minor. Turn that into a 2, 5 to D flat. And then you have a half step chromatic resolution up to a D half diminished, which becomes the 2, 5, 1 C minor. It leads everything back around beautifully. Indeed. No, that's completely fine and understandable out of sight. I am doing this not for you to learn it this second. I'm doing this so that you can come back to this 1 hour and 2 minutes into the VOD. And you can watch this back a couple of times and break down and follow along with what is going on there. But this is a simpler one. Obviously, if we're going to look at like all the things you are, it gets a little bit crazier. But this is honestly, Blue Boss is an amazing example of like how a couple of pretty simple concepts can translate into a really cool chord progression, right? And give you a couple of tools to think about, oh, here's an example of how modal interchange work. How can I apply that in my own writing? Here's they're using a diminished chord here. How are they using a diminished chord? Why are they using a diminished chord, right? All that kind of stuff. So I would recommend, and you can start really simple with like blueses and rhythm changes and stuff, figuring out why that stuff works, and then move along through there. But since you are interested in writing in that style, I think it would be a good exercise for you to engage in, and I think you'd find it very helpful. But yeah, so 1 hour and 2 minutes into the VOD, you can watch back tomorrow. But in any case, great question and great little track. I wanna hear what you do with it. I think it sounds very cool. It's a very cool setup. So let me know how it goes, what you end up doing with it. But in any case, let's go ahead and start thinking about our tasks for the day, shall we? We are going to be working more on order 1 And before we even get into the track, oh my goodness. Aw. Thank you so much for the bits. That's very generous, man. 200 whole bits. Thank you. I really appreciate the support. You're too kind, man. You're too kind. I'm so glad it's helpful. But we have our marching orders on the next track for Order 1, and I hope Slavka and Jake can come and join us today. Let me ping them in ye olde Discord. Let's see here. Oh, they're all in dev chat. Let's see here. Starting work on stream. I will ping them and we'll see if they can pop in and come and hang. But we are starting work on this next track here on Order 1. This is going to be another set of combat tracks, combat, escape, stealth, or sneak, and then like explore or ambient. But this time it will be underscoring a spacewalk segment where you are actually outside of the space station. So it's going to have a bit of a different tone, not radically different, but a bit of a different vibe. The combat track in particular is going to be less about intensity, because I think in the spacewalk section it sounds like it's going to be a little more ranged combat. So we're going to lean away from super intense in your face, what we've done with the last couple of combat tracks, and more into like kind of a methodical, something that's a little bit more appropriate for a larger space and not such like immediate danger. I can imagine that would be a lot out of sight. I commend you. That sounds like a very rewarding job, but also a very challenging job. So mental health days are important. We all got to take them. You take care of you. Always. That is priority number one, because you can't help others unless you're in a good space yourself. So, but I commend you for the work that you do very much. Slavka, Jake, good timing. It's almost like I pinged you on Discord and said, hey, come hang out with me. Fantastic timing. No, I was just giving everybody the rundown on the track for today for the spacewalk segment. But we also have, which is very, very exciting, some gameplay footage that I have been given the okay to share with everyone, which is Hush You, because this is still, I think this is still placeholder music, I assume. But we have some gameplay footage. So this is the first that we are seeing of the actual in-game. I'm not sure. You guys can let me know, Jake and Slavka, what specific part of the game this is, what specific area this is. I don't know if it's an area that we have done music for yet. But yes, we have a whole level here. It's very exciting, and it looks exceptional. I love the lighting. Oh, this is the radiation shielding. Okay, great. Yeah, so this is the first area, and then this is the exterior. So I'm going to use this as a tiny little placeholder reference for the vibe of the spacewalk, because this is probably sort of roughly what the spacewalk will look like. But we've got the big, amazing black hole that we're constantly talking about and have cool sounds for. And I believe, yeah, there's planet rotation and I think orbital mechanics going on here a little bit. Even just for the background set pieces, which is a very cool attention to detail. But everything looks just fantastic. Looks really, 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 really nice. They're doing an amazing job. So we've got some interactable physics objects. Got some good basic hand animations, it looks like. And it is a VR game, of course, as you guys know. So, you know. But no, it looks great. I cannot wait to be ripping arms off stuff in here and putting them on my own arms. It's pretty heckin' neat. So, yeah, but we're going to, at least I want to, we'll go scroll back to the section where you're sort of outside the level for a second and can see space. And we're going to kind of look back at that as we start putting the the spacewalk tracks together and use that as kind of a vibe check, which I love having on hand. It's very, very handy. Very helpful. Hello, Dark Pit. Let's see here. Here we go. Boom. We're going to, yeah. Ooh, perfect freeze frame. Off to mix this track I got lined up. Have a great night. Have a great night, you as well, Jotty. Thanks for hanging out, buddy. Always a pleasure. I appreciate you stopping back by. Cool. So we are going to get a new track set up here, and we are going to start jamming on this spacewalk track. So this is going to be the same as most of the tracks we've done up to this point in terms of being, we're going to be composing vertically here, doing multiple variations of the track that are all interrelated and use the same sound set, but have slightly different use cases in mind. So let's see here. Let me get this all squared away. We're going to call you Spacewalk. Very good. So, of course, we have some good references here as well, and I already have a couple of ideas that I want to play around with. But let me get a couple of things pulled up over here. So we have a couple of references for the ambiance. Here we go. Dev chat is busy today in the Order 1 server. So here's our first reference. For ambiance. Or arguably an even better one. This is the one I prefer. So really textural, more on the atonal side. So not thinking a ton about like a lot of any, kind of melody. I think we might do a few chord swells here and there, but very much just big, expansive, sort of deep space textures. Here was another track that was passed around. Or a whole mix. And by the way, if anybody likes really like dark ambient stuff like this, Cryo Chamber is an amazing label that does a lot of very cool stuff. Oh, wait a second. Can you guys hear this right now? No audio. Oh God, I forgot to click the button. I love it. Hang on. I have to get a better system for that figured out. Moving between feedback and not doing feedback. There we go. Now we have sound. Honestly, you didn't miss like a whole ton. So we've got this. Big, expansive, spacious kinds of texture. We've got... This is, I think, the main one that I'm going to pay attention to because it has this very cool siren. Where's the cool siren? I love that siren, that sort of like tornado siren sound at the beginning. So I have some ideas with that we'll go talk about in a second. And then for sneak and combat, low, pulsing, probably a little bit of string stuff. And then for combat, we'll do some low chanting strings. This was the reference, but I want to do a little bit, I think this is a good tempo and a good feel, and I like the idea of low strings as a texture there. But I think we're going to shoot a gap between that and then some of the stuff that we've already done, just in terms of keeping things cohesive primarily, and having more of a tech, you're spacewalking. So, there's a strong component of like the vastness of space, but then also being grounded to the side of the station, and interacting with that component of the environment. So, I'm thinking, yeah, like layers of war drum, but also probably thicker, like low pulsing kicks, synths. I'm thinking leaning into the fact that it's going to be less immediate combat and more ranged type stuff can come from the energy. Not making it as fast and as intense, but it's important to still keep a cohesive sound palette between everything, at least for the most part. Because if you start changing styles too much, and like pretty much everything is very synthy, or very heavy or lots of industrial stuff, and then suddenly you go to something that's like purely orchestral, it can sound not like it sounds like something that just doesn't kind of belong with the rest of the OST, right? So I think we're going to be able to shoot for a nice kind of middle space there. But one thing it made me 223 of the combat reference. Let's see here. Yes, exactly. 100%. Like this, but with the strings is pretty much exactly what I'm thinking. And probably some like war drum stuff in there. But so yeah, like slower and not as like screaming and intense as in your face as the other stuff, but still a similar kind of sound palette. This is great. Yeah. Gonk gonk, yoga donk, gonk 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 with that low drone. Yes, fantastic. I love it. We are 1,000% on the 1,000% on the same page. Cool. I do have a couple of ideas because hearing especially this, that I'm pretty confident is a sample of a tornado siren, which is a really specific sound. And most people, if you haven't lived in the Midwestern United States, would know that sound from like Siren Head. It's like a sample that's used a lot in Siren Head media lore stuff. But there are a bunch of really cool and wild sounding sirens out there in the world. So you have the tornado siren, and I do think I want to maybe use some of these samples in the piece in one way or another. But like heavily edited, pitched down. They're just really, really nice texture. The other one that I might want to try to use is one of the more frightening sounding ones is the earthquake alert system in Ciudad Mexico, in Mexico City. Is a very, very, very weird and alien sounding.
Alerta sísmica. Alerta sísmica.
Obviously don't use that, but it's a very unsettling sound. I don't know if we'll use that, but it is on my mind. Because it's just a really weird, spooky sound, especially when you hear it like in the streets, like as an earthquake is happening. It's very unnerving. So we've got some ideas there, but we are going to start, I think, as is tradition, with the combat component here. Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. You mean like the one on your phone, the really shrill, piercing, or the yeah, or the what's it called? The emergency alert service. Yeah.
Northwest South I can feast it without shelter.
Where's the... Where's the sound? Where's the sound? There's an emergency alert broadcast system in the U.S. that has also a very, very distinctive sound to it. That. Which that's just two, probably pulse waves, square waves, dial-up internet. It does sound a little bit like dial-up internet. You guys are young. You don't remember when this would play on the radio when something was going down. I think it still does. At least in the U.S. it does. But yeah, so these are all potentially interesting textures that we could pull from. So anyways, but we'll get to that. We will get to that. What I want to start with. Yeah, same sound. Yeah, that is taken directly from this. Which is from the emergency alert system. Yeah, that used to only happen on the radio, and then they just took the sound and stuck it in your phone. But that was like, yeah, if there was like a huge blizzard or a tornado coming, if you were just listening to the radio, just music on the radio, it would stop, and you would hear this, and you'd go, oh shit, back in the mid '90s, late '90s, and for many years before that. But anyways. We'll get there. We will get there. First, I want to build out this combat layer. So again, this one's going to be a little bit more open, less in your face, and a little bit slower, and more kind of methodical. I want it to sound more methodical, I think is a good word for it. So as always, you got to decide on a tempo. I'm thinking we go something like that, which would be like 75-ish. Maybe a little bit slower than that. That'd be like 73, I think, base tempo. We're setting it to 146 just for sort of double time. But let's see here. Oh, God, I hate the new metronome. There used to be such a good little menu down there. We don't need the subdivision here. So we're definitely going to use some strings here. We'll go Hollywood Strings 2, I think, which is a little bit drier and more in your face, which I think will be a nice contrast with a slower tempo and wanting something to feel a little bit more textural and a little more methodical. I think we want to lean away from big giant orchestra and lean more into a smaller ensemble here is going to be good. So we're going to get our full string stack set up here. We are going to give ourselves 5 new MIDI tracks. And we are going to send these to Opus. Yes. Very good. Go. So we're going to be first violins, second violins, violas, cello, and basses. I really should just have a preset sort of track stack for that, but I don't because I'm lazy. we want a nice low bass synth. We want impact here. Maybe actually battery. Let's play around with battery. Battery is usually a good bet for good sort of techy. A little bit tonal. It's close to what I'm looking for. I like a lot of the textures. That's all very interesting, but probably not quite. Ooh. This is good. Yes, I think we can do some cool things with this kit. There's a lot of like breathy textures in here. There's some like classic kind of 80s-ish sounding stuff. Also some very modern. Yes, I think we can do some cool stuff with that. Okay, cool. So that'll be our kit. Who do we want to drive the synth bus here? I'm always kind of liking the Moog for the bass end of things, but I kind of always use the Moog. It's just so easy and so it sounds so good. But who else has like good low throbbing bass sounds? Oberheim. MS-20 is going to be too acidy. And I know these guys do not like anything that sounds acidy. We've learned that. Prophet's got some nice basses. Now let's go Prophet. Let's go to Prophet 5. Let's see if we have any cool bass sequences with the Prophet. No. That's not bad. Do you have an arpeggiator? You should. Or do you not? No, you've got to. Yeah, here we go. Ooh. That's a very cool sound. We're gonna do this in D, I think. Let's see here. Yeah, that's nice. That'll blend really nicely with low strings too. Okay. Now, of course, we need our let's see here. What am I looking for? The black hole, ever present in this game. Very important. Very important, especially for this, because you're going to be outside right next to the damn thing. And then, you know, pads and other things. Aw, B3, thank you so much for the sub. That's very kind of you. Chat, throw some love to B3. I appreciate that, man. Thank you for the support. Very, very kind of you. We'll get some pads and stuff going, but we want to get just our kind of groove, or the core of our groove built here, right? So we're going to start with our bases. Oh, thanks. I'm so glad. I enjoy having you here. So the feeling is mutual. Let's get our basses and cellos going here. Get CC11 going. And, oh yeah, these are all going to need to be, yeah, we'll go red is fine. Boom. And then we're going to want, probably spiccato here is going to be the move. Yeah. Yeah. Dun 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 dun. Black hole can shut up for now while we just start building this here. I want those a little sharper. No vibrato. And let's get our full, since this track is probably going to be a little more string heavy, let's get our full stack of stuff going here. God, why do they do this? Why do you do this to me, Studio One? It's just simply terrible. There we go. So sound variations can go up here, and then, yeah, velocity. And CC11 modulation. That's pretty good. How about staccato? Nope. How about détaché? Honestly, kind of cool. What about marcato? Not tight enough. I'm thinking spiccato on the basses and then maybe détaché on the cellos. So let's copy this up to our cellos, get this up into a playable range for them, an octave up. Hey, why didn't you transpose? And then do we have détaché here? We should, yeah. Sounds a little unrealistic though. Well, you got a little bit of wolf tone in there. That's nice. And then let's see here. Okay, so we've got that. That's a pretty decent starting point. Let's loop that out a couple of times. we do that. That's cool. I like that. So now battery. What's battery going to get up to here? I like that kick sound a lot. Although I don't think full, like that would be 8 notes basically. I think we just go. Cool. I like that. And we're going to loop that out again. Okay, so how does one... here we go. Perfect. So that's going to go direct out there. We want to expand battery. We're going to give ourselves probably 4 outs here. And our kick will go to the first one, of course. Because that's good. Like, I like the air in it, but I don't want that much air in it. Yeah, I want it to be like darker. I also want the sample to be a little bit of a decay here. Yeah. Cool. Now let's get our profit going here. A little too bright on the filter. Cool. Now we'll just get that in line timing wise. And then I want to go here. Where's my pitch bend? I think I just want to bend it up right at the end. Yeah, up just ever so slightly. And then this is probably going to be our filter. Yeah, very good. So let's drag this over and then have that filter open up right at the end, just like so. Ooh, not quite that snarly, but yes. Cool. Well, no. None of that. Cool. This is the lovely vibe so far. Okay, so now let's think war drums. Complete control. That's what I'm looking for. It's like staring blankly at my zillions and zillions of plugins. Like, what? What happened? We want complete control because we want action strikes. I think we're going to go with it. We've been using, I think, Rise of the Machines has been the main action strikes kit that we've been using. I think I want to go with something a little different here. Dark City, probably not. Yeah, we've been using... Oh, shut up, Prophet. We've been using that kit. Trying to think of what screams deep space here. Also, we want these to be eighth note feels as well, because we don't necessarily want... Ooh. Yeah. Sick. Okay. I like it. I want the filter to open up just a little more though. Not quite that much. It's a touch of filter. Yeah. Tycho Invasion's cool. It's really like organic. It feels very jungly. We can try it. Yeah, it doesn't have like the top end kind of bite-ish. It feels like very decidedly big wooden drums, which does not feel like spacewalking to me. I want something that feels like not overly metallic, but a little bit more metallic than that. No, Monster Attack. I like Blockbuster a lot. That sounds super lovely. Okay, so now with battery here, here's what we're gonna do. We want to find... We want to find a bunch of sounds here. We're going to turn off this EQ. And we're going to like just build kind of a secondary part. But we're going to build a secondary pattern here, but we're going to send all this to a separate bus and do some really cool filtery stuff with it. I'm going to sound a little goofy at first, but stick with me here. There it is. We're going to go 30-second notes here. Very good. Give me linear. Thank you. Move you over to there. Okay, now that sounds very silly, but don't worry. Because we're going to take all of these, send them to a separate output. Like so. Okay. Give me, what do we want to use here? Let's try cassette first, because we like it so dang much. Just gets like, and then maybe the colored 808 is always kind of an interesting. Yeah, like super distorted. We're going to turn this tom way down because I do like the texture of it, but that's far too loud. Ooh. Yeah, now we're talking. Play with Delay Eternity from Arturia. That's cool. That's spacey, techie, glitchy. I do want a little compression on it, though. very, very interesting sound that we've built there. I think that's quite cool. I don't know about that sort of like splashy sound. Where is that? I think it's, yeah, it's you. Yeah, that's very cool. I don't love how wide it is. Like, it's insanely wide. We can control that in a little bit. This is sounding like ranged combat outside of a spaceship. Let's get a vibe check here. I can see it. I can see it. Yeah, sure. Okay, so definitely like higher strings here as well, and probably pad. Music reference check. Oh, in Discord. For which one? I am looking. I don't see. Oh, same ones. Okay. Oh, what? Vibe check. Oh, yeah. Scroll up and 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 further on up through all of the conversations that happen. And there we go. Nope, not that one. Yeah, so we'll do some string swells like that. We've got similar percussion going on. We've got similar bass. Our track is a little faster and a little higher in energy, which I think is good for combat, but it's not totally over the top. But this is not... I don't know if this one is going to need to be a whole lot more active or like dense or busy. Like, I think we're actually already pretty close on that front. I think high strings... maybe a little bit of pad, and then I want to play around with some of these siren texture ideas. Like that. And then where was the let me download a couple of these real quick here. Where was the... That's this. I want to play around with that. I want to play around with this. And then I want to find a good tornado siren vibe, because what that will probably be a little bit more in the ambient version of this track. I keep just searching tornado. Let's find a good version of this here. That's real noisy and messy and kind of bad. That's not a full cycle of it. It's got too much verb on it. I want it drier than that. That's too busy. I like that. That's relatively clean, and it's got like others in there, which adds some nice texture. So we're going to go YouTube to MP3. Let's use illegal downloader websites for a second. Yeah. No, don't show me notifications. How we doing, chat? How's it going? Let's just vibe while I rip things off of YouTube. Because it takes a while, because these sites are notoriously slow and sketchy. We stretch. We gotta, stay in limber is important here. Download. Oh, hey, thanks. And we'll grab you. These are very, very nice textures for an application like this. And then we'll grab you. I do enjoy very much how much like found sound kind of stuff we're using in a lot of these, like the black hole sound and stuff. It's good vibes. Good vibes for spook. Very effective technique for spook. You're awfully quiet, chat. How you guys doing? I see a whole bunch of you in there. Twitch also, something that I've noticed recently, Twitch has, I guess, changed how they count active viewers, which is kind of annoying, to be honest with you. Because there's like big discrepancies, like when or maybe it's just a Stream Elements thing, because Stream Elements says 4, but I see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to 10 in the list of folks who are hanging out. Not that it matters, just an observation. Okay, we've got ourselves some neato, funky, weirdo. Let's see here. Sounds. God, that's a great sound. So these will be particularly useful in the ambient layer, like I was saying, but I think we can also potentially find a use for them here. Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, so now cutting this one is going to be a little bit interesting, because we got to really look at the waveform. Okay, so there's the wow. Probably like the, oh, nope, come back. Yeah, very good. And then this one, we're going to clip just to right there. Very good. And then that's a much longer sample that can probably just be kind of running in the background. Okay, cool. So we're going to take all these, we're going to throw these into like a sound effects kind of a bus here. And I don't know if we're going to necessarily use all of them right now, but I do want to play around with them just for a second, kind of see what sorts of textures we can get out of them. Because they're neat. Because they're neat and weird. And we like things that are neat and also weird. Yes, it is the earthquake alarm from CDMX, 100%, because it's a weird, spooky sound. The kind of the issue with that CDMX earthquake sound is that it's pretty tonal, but we can fix that with the ring mod. Totally. I think we can do something really cool with that. Well, that's why we're gonna alter it a little bit. So I'm actually gonna pull these out and put them in their own little thing. Play on a tantra on this. That's pretty cool. Hang on. Honestly, just the two sounds on their own are kind of cool. That's very, very cool sounding. I'm just trying to think about what else can kind of happen here. Yeah, we'll add some reverb to the cello. You're not. I think. Let's see here. This is such a vibe. Oh man, I love this. I want to add a little clipping to this though. It's not quite as nasty as I want it. Alpha Magi, how's it going, buddy? Afternoon. It's 4. Yeah, there's a little more texture for us. Frustrated, come here to chill and cool down a bit after a gaming tilt streak. Oh no, what happened? Did you get banged up in the video games? I hate it when that happens. It's like my least favorite thing. It's why I don't play anything comp or really anything PvP like ever. Because I suck at it. Oh, come on. Okay. This is honestly sick right now. That is just a fantastic amount of texture. I am loving this. Okay. So I think now really just like lead strings. Like this is, now that we've added Black Hole, of course. God, what a cool set of textures we built here. Okay, so lengthwise here, we're gonna already kind of jump into full sculpt mode. Yeah, 118's not. That's pretty good. So now we want to think about. Oh, and another absolute thing. There's this sub drop sample that I use all the time. That is just so good. Oh, right, because it's over here. Sub drop. And it adds just a shitload of impact to things in a really lovely way. So we're going to add that at the top here, and it's going to very much give this a nice... actually, hang on. Ooh. This is really, really, really fucking cool. So we're going to add a viola layer, I think, up an octave higher, maybe 2 octaves higher. Doing something like this. Let's see here. Give me... Détaché profile. No. That. I don't like that at all. That also sounds like dog shit. Come here, Viol. What articulations can we play with here? Oh, we have everything. Uh-oh. Well, that's not good. I mean, that's tremolo, so I'm not surprised it sounds bad. That just sounds so clean, though. That sounds bad. How about Mercado? I'd use spiccato, but the timing gets weird on it. Like, it's not as clean as I need it. I need to be dun da da dun da da dun da 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 da, and it's super not that, which sucks. We hate that. Definitely not pizzicato. That would be crazy. Yuck. Composer Cloud, why do you sound so bad? Yeah, not Flotondo, of course not. Why did I even click on Flotondo? No, Legato's good. No, yeah, that's not going to work at all. Why don't I have Staccatissimo? Staccatissimo would be so good, but we're using Hollywood Strings 2, which apparently doesn't have it. I mean, I guess let's hear staccato in maybe in context. We'll see. Honestly, that's too busy. That robs the vibe of everything else. I don't like that at all, actually. Over on the YouTube side, Minlal, can you do Still DRE? I love that song, but no, that's not what we're doing. We're writing music for video games. It's like a totally different thing. Alpha Magi has an idea. I'm all ears. I definitely, like, you know, shrill, woo, crazy strings is going to be the name of the game here. Maybe we just have the violas join on that, but an octave up, just to reinforce it a little bit. Oh. That sounds very, very cool with the violas in there. That lushes it out nicely. Okay, so that's what they can do. And then probably our violins will just do weirdness on top. You make it 4 measures of a lengthy note and then 4 measures of a half step up. Potentially, what we want, like, the longer you make notes, the calmer things feel, right? So I would probably do that in the really high shrill strings, would be doing stuff like that. But the low strings, if you just have really low drones, it makes things feel a lot more ambient. And given that this is a combat track. God, that's lovely. But I like the feel of like I know what you're talking about there, Alpha Magi. So what I want to play with here is probably some let's see here. Let's go sound variation modulation. We're gonna copy you up to first violins, and we're gonna do some like almost aleatoric-ish clustery stuff. Aleatoric technically means randomized. But in the context of strings, it can also mean just really abstract stuff. Ooh, thank you, D2. I'm almost out of water. I'm on the final sips, so I'm going to have to go run and get more. But we're going to go expressive sustain here, I think, and probably we want real. Yeah, I mean, let's go true aleatoric here. So here's a fun way to do this, or at least it's something we can try. I'm going to close my eyes and mute my speakers, and I'm just going to, you guys will hear what gets played, but I'm not going to. I'm going to play 3 random notes on our first violin, real high in the register, and then we're going to do the same thing on the second violins. I have no idea what I just played or if it sounded good or not. We're going to do the same thing on the second violins. Copy that. I said copy that down. We're going to remove what we just did and try the same thing. No idea what it's going to sound like. No idea what it's going to sound like. Is it bad? It's probably bad. Weird. Yeah, kinda. Let's quantize these first of all. And then let's play around with them. Yeah, so this is aleatoric scoring, which is really just randomized, like totally throwing any concept of like, oh, let's make a chord. It's the idea of just fully randomizing notes. Honestly, totally. Kind of all about it. And then we'll get some like kind of swells going on in here. Yes, quite possibly good for ambient. I want to hear them in context with this. Just real quick and kind of see. No, don't perish, Slavka. We love Slavka. I don't know. I kind of like that. It's also way too off to one side. I can fix that, but you know, maybe we don't need. Maybe we don't really need. Like, obviously, there's a ton of room on the top of this for stuff. And that's, I'm just trying to hear. I'll join the fight so we can help tackle stream elements. Let me listen to the reference again and see what the reference is doing. I mean, the reference is kind of doing that. Yeah, like that's kind of what I'm going after is like just big swells. And aleatoric swells are, you know, is very, very horror texture-y. Let me... Can these be more in the middle, please? There we go. Before we worry too much about these, let's get like some kind of an arrangement going here with the rest of this stuff. So I like it starting here. I think right here we amp it up, particularly on the... Here, let's combine all of our... I think a lot of our movement here is going to come from our war drums. So this is all good. And then let's see if we can go, let's see here, C#1. Let's change this pattern up back to the 16th and see if that feels too busy. Oh, wait, that's up here. There we go. And then let's have it sort of break down a little bit here. And like get rid of some of this. Thanks, Buster. Like, what if we get rid of all of that? Sure. Let's stick you up here. Open up the filter on yield basophone here. Come on here. Yeah, let's merge all of these as well. Yeah, so let's have that open up a little bit more. And the filter opening can happen sort of maybe twice as often. And then maybe we... Yeah. Then you do like... I like that. That's kind of decent. I want to work on that sound just a little bit more because I'm not like a huge, massive fan of it. just a skosh like that. Yeah, let's like put like a clipper on that maybe. Notcher, how's it going, buddy? In time for feedback? Unfortunately, no. We usually do feedback for about the first hour of stream. It starts at 2 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central European time. So yes, from like 2 to 3 Eastern time in the US or 8 to 9 European time, we are doing feedback generally, except Mondays. Mondays is all feedback. But yeah, we're 2.5-ish hours into stream here. So where's Unison? Where's like Unison spread on this guy? There you are. I want it to drop back down here and do something a little bit different rhythmically, like jongo to jong kind of a thing. Ooh, D sharp 1 might give me that. Maybe these go up to there. And then where's our pitch bend? I kind of want you to do maybe more like that. Question mark? Maybe. bit much on the bass. Jesus. And honestly, maybe these get cranked up here. Okay, because I'm just trying to start sculpting here, right? And getting like some interest going on with this whole thing. Where's my crash full? I feel like it's going to be a good call here. So we're going to put you in. We're going to pitch you way, 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 way down, and turn you down. I'm liking this. Hang on. Okay, interesting. So we actually want that pattern there. Then we want there's kind of a break in the excitement here. It kind of tones down for a second. Okay, we're sort of building something here. We're building something. It's still feeling repetitive, but we're massaging. We're massaging as we go here. So we'll take that part, put it there. Cool. What happens if we do that? That's an interesting idea. Okay. Let's see something here. I have an idea on how to amp this up even more. Thanks, MX. Nope, but I like the direction of adding some sort of ride bell-ish kind of action. No, not bells. So I have tried acid sort of stuff in the soundtrack before. The developers do not like acidy sounds. It starts feeling very 90s very quickly with acidy stuff. Ride bell, question mark. Yeah, that's a sound. Yes, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing it in a slightly different way. Honestly, kinda. Kind of love it. TBH. Kind of super happy with it. Kind of vibing with it. And I kind of want to add back here at the very end, just another even more driving, like a clap. Yeah. I like it. Damn. That's pretty cool. I really like that quite a bit. Okay, so I don't really feel like it needs a whole lot more than that. So what we're doing here, MX, this is what we call vertical composition. Well, sort of vertical composition. So vertical composing is a technique that you use when writing music specifically for video games. So this is for this game called Order 1, which we have been contracted to write all of the music for. Not all of the music, but a lot of the in-game music for it. So this is for this section of the game that is going to ultimately be like a spacewalk segment. So the game is like very much like sci-fi horror. It's a VR game. Sci-fi horror stealth action. You could kind of think of it like Metal Gear Solid meets Dead Space is kind of the vibe of it. And so it takes place on a space station that is orbiting this black hole that we see here. And this is some pre-alpha in-game play footage of the game environment. And this is kind of I think one of the airlocks that leads outside the station. But it's a semi-open environment. There's like 8 different sectors to the space station. And so each one needs music for it, but the music is going to be layered depending on what's happening with the enemies. So it's mostly revolves around enemy alert state. So there's this is the combat track that we're making right here. And then we're going to make a variation on this. This is why we call it vertical composing, because instead of thinking in terms of like a whole big long song with peaks and valleys and stuff, you have different layers or different versions of the track that all use the same types of layers, right? So we're going to take elements of this and sort of fly it over like so, which I was going to do in a second anyways. So like this is our combat, right? And then we're going to take this and we're going to copy it out. And we need 4 different variations of this track, all of which will be triggered interactively based on the alert state of the enemy and a few other in-game sort of variables. So there's going to be an escape for when you're escaping from combat. There's going to be a stealth, or we're calling it the sneak version. And then there's going to be an exploration version, which is going to be mostly just ambiance, right? And then depending on what is happening in the game, these will dynamically shift in between each other. And even then, there's likely going to be variations on each of those depending on intensity. So like 3 different layers of intensity for combat, 3 different layers of intensity for the escape version, et cetera, et cetera. And it ties to a few different gameplay mechanics, which one is getting triggered. So this is why we call it vertical composing, because I'm thinking less about composing, across, again, with peaks and valleys and an intro and an outro and a bridge and, different sections and stuff. And more just like, okay, here's a stack. Now we're going to take a lot of those same sounds and rebuild it over here for like an exploration version, right? So the same string sounds, some of the same ambient textures, the same kinds of drum sounds, but doing different parts or changing things up. So yeah, we're thinking in layers, more in layers and less in terms of like an overall form or song structure. That was the thing I was going to work on. This bass is, I'm not loving. I think I added some white noise here, I feel like. Is that you? Hang on. Yeah. Remove the white noise from it. Oh yeah, much better. Scrumptious. Do you use Rift? I do not. I'm not familiar with Rift. Is synth bass a little too fast? I don't think so. It's doing a similar pace to what the strings are doing. They're all kind of gung 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 gung. They're all doing that same rhythm. And the filter is quite low, so the synth bass is pretty just vibey most of the time. You only really hear it. You can just throw the link in chat. I want to kind of... hybrid distortion plugin. Oh. Oh, yeah. Interesting. Sure, yeah. I mean, I have a lot of stuff like this in different forms. Yeah, just like wave foldery kinds of things. Yeah, comb filtery stuff. Looks like, oh, yeah. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, I have things that are similar. It's not all in one tool, but I definitely have stuff in that vein. Wondering what happens, though, if we pitch this tornado siren way down. Will that sound cooler? Kinda, but not that loud. I like that. Something I should do here is that, and then actually move this here and here, because we don't want to put an OTT on our sub drop. That's a little insane. And I do want to send this to FX1. This ride thing here. Give it some nice space. Yeah. We like it. Ooh, cool. Yeah, definitely. Okay. I'm very, very pleased with this. I think this is sitting in a really, really nice spot at the moment. Probably not going to use any swing here because nothing else is swung at all. Everything's very, very straight 16ths here. So we're going to call you beat. We're going to call you bass. We're going to call you war drums. Yes, you are sound effects. So you're the siren. You are our black hole. You are our crashes. These are alarms. Let's go 1 and 2. And then that's the sub drop, and then that's a ride, and that's a clap. So we want to organize our session here just a wee bit. We have like no synthesizer here other than the bass. That's kind of interesting. So the two of you and then the two of you are our main kind of groove components here. So you guys are going to be purple because you always are. And then all of our sound effects will be sort of lighter purple because you always are. And then bass, just like so. Goodness, what happened? Why did these get turned up so much? Did I fat finger something? I might have fat fingered something. Sometimes that happens. Okay, I'm quite pleased with all that. So what we are going to do now, we're going to let that be for a little bit. We're going to jump over and we're going to focus on our ambient version of the track here. So we're literally going to get rid of all, or at least the vast majority of this. And we want to build just this will just be the pure exploration ambience. And this is probably where we'll bring in some pad some pad action here and some of those aleatoric sort of strings. So I want to go back and listen to our main reference here, which I believe is this guy. So just extremely atmospheric. And the thing that I want to really convey with this here is extremely spacious, right? Because we're literally in outer space. We are literally standing next to this black hole. Like we're in direct sight of it. So we want that to be an extremely prominent part of the texture here. So I'm actually going to undo what it just did. We don't need that. I'm actually going to make a whole second version of this black hole sound. And we want to really amp this up. Maybe a clipper could be nice. Thanks, MX. No worries, man. Have a good night. And I'm going to break one of my cardinal sins here. I constantly talk about controlling the imaging in our low end, right? I constantly talk about how important it is to have mono in, your low end in mono. I'm actually going to very intentionally break that rule here. I'm going to have a big low end source, and I'm going to chuck it straight into a big giant reverb and have a ton of width on the low end. Why are we doing that? Well, first of all, because one of the main reasons why we want to pay attention to imaging in our low end and avoid having really wide stereo information, down under, say, 200 hertz, is because most of the time we're making music that people are going to listen to in a lot of different places, right? We are making tunes that people are going to listen to maybe in their car, on headphones, on phone speakers, in their living room, on a home theater system, in, the computer speakers, whatever. And having really, really wide low end information can cause phasing issues and can cause your low end to just feel really, really weird. Usually our low end consists of like bass guitars, bass synthesizers, kick drums, these kinds of things that have really clear defined purpose. Right now we're doing something very different. So we're thinking about it both in terms of the use case and we're thinking of it in terms of the playback system. This is a VR game. So people are probably not going to ever really be listening to the exploration version of this track in their car stereo, right? Or in their living room or whatever. They're going to be listening to it on a VR headset or in headphones, with a VR system. So knowing that, we don't need to worry about phase correlation issues in our low end because we don't need this to translate to a bunch of different acoustic environments. It's going to one specific place. Secondarily, it is a really great way to get expansiveness in a soundscape, right? And make things feel really huge and wide. So I'm taking extra copies of this black hole sound, and I'm gonna try to put this together into something. I want to make it feel like this black hole is right next to you and like fully trying to rip your face off, and spaghettify you out into infinity. So we're gonna go really aggressive here with some things. Feeling pretty good. Still not getting the presence out of it that I want. So I'm going to keep just playing around with different layers of this black hole sound and just seeing kind of what we can do with it to really... So like here, I'm going to add, like we've got clipping on one. Here I want to add more of just like distortion. So we're going to grab, no, not pedal board. Not pedal board, you goofball. Red light, which is a multi-stage distortion. You can get very loud. Now we're talking. That's a lot of controlled sonic energy there. Oh yeah. feels very fitting to me thus far. I think, let's see here. What do we want to do? Okay. I also really like in that dead space, there's just a really low droning, very sub forward kind of a bass sound. So we're going to pull up Vital and do a little design in Vital here for a second. And we're going to go for our clipped. Yeah. Actually, I want to find like a nice Reese. One of our community members, Cakes, gave me a bunch of killer like Reese bass sounds. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're just gonna like literally just have that just droning the entire time. And then we'll modulate that filter a little bit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then loop. No, what? No. Come on now, Studio One. You know what I want. No, not that either. What? Toi? Why in the hell would you... Guys, Studio One's being weird. There we go. Oh, interesting. Okay. Sure. So let's take our random noise and... Cool. Well, not quite. There you go. Perfect. nice. Okay, I'm liking all of that. Now, we had said maybe some string swells over this, although I'm not so... I'm not so sure. I am not so sure. Definitely, I think like another nice metally pad. So let's pull up another complete control and let's look around, poke around in Ethereal Earth for a second here. Or maybe Evolved Mutations or something like that. I like this approaching atonal. This sounds cool. Chuck that in the hole. Yeah. Nice. Yep. 100%. That's a great layer. And then, yeah, I suppose we could do some aleatoric-y kind of jimmy jams here. Probably just do it on just violin 1. No idea how that sounded. Hey, Kane. How's it going, buddy? Oh, we were in spiccato. Oh, that's terrible. That probably sounded insane. I had my speakers turned off because we're trying to do aleatoric here. Procrastinated the entire day and finally wrote something for school. Good. My tune is going weird, which is good because it should be. We're doing, this is like a ambiance for a horror sci-fi situation. That's good. Yes, we're in a space station here orbiting a black hole, and we're walking around outside the space station. And potentially fighting a bunch of angry zombo monsters. Angry zombo space monsters. You know what I mean? So we're doing some aleatoric string work here. Hello, Sussy. How's it going? So we're not doing feedback at the moment. When we are doing feedback, you'll use exclamation point feedback to Candied Bacon Love. How's it going? I love your username. Thanks for the follow. But we usually do feedback for the first hour of stream or so on most days. But then all day Monday is feedback as well. So I'm live pretty much every day, Monday through Friday, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern in the U.S., 8 p.m. Central European time. But yeah, so usually for the first hour or so, we'll do feedback. But on Mondays are Feedback Monday. So we do feedback the whole time. What's up, Cakes? Good to see you, buddy. But yeah, Sussy, just to, and Candied Bacon Love. Seems like we got a few new friends tuned in. I'll give you guys my quick spiel here. Hi, I'm Nathan Scott. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. I am a professional producer, composer, mix master, engineer, multi-instrumentalist. And most of what my stream is about is doing commissioned work for clients. So mostly I score video games. I do write music for indie game devs, and that's what we're working on today. This is a game called Order 1, which is a VR stealth action horror game. Sort of think Metal Gear meets Dead Space. So we're doing some vertical composing on one of the sectors of the game, semi-open world, where you're running around a space station that is orbiting a black hole. Very, very cool game. The devs are extremely talented. And so, yeah, we're just doing, right now we're doing a really weird, spooky ambiance for a spacewalk segment, where you are literally floating around outside the, or, well, I guess you're probably attached to the side of the space station, but... Jake, how's it going? Sci-fi scores are a whole lot of fun. We did another sort of sci-fi stealth game last year called Ares VR. That was a ton of fun. Jake, you can keep sleeping. It's okay. But here's where we're at for the ambiance, Jake. I'm trying to get the vibe of like the black hole being a lot more immediate. So I have like, I'll use more of that. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, well, I've got multiple, this is the black hole sense, so I've got multiple copies. Like, I've got the regular one being spooky, and then we've got one down here with a bunch of clipping on it. So that's like the crackle layer number one. Then we've got one that's pitched way down, which could be louder as well. Adding out like extra low end to it, and then one that's really heavily distorted. With like kind of making it feel like it's like right on top of you. I love having gameplay footage for reference. It definitely helps with the vibe. I think just like randomly once we have a little So that's our ambient layer, right? That's our exploration. And then when combat kicks in, oh no, not ad. We hate the ads. I actually want that to continue through there. We'll wait till the ad's over. We got 30 seconds on the ad. Ad time. Oh no, we hate ad time. Oh no, ad time. We don't like ads. Boo ads. Let me know when you're back. I think ads are over. Yay. Okay, anyways, we'll hear the transition again. I thought you were subscribed, Jake. Hopefully someone can gift you a sub. So there's ambiance, then combat. So there's our combat, which is definitely less intense than some of the other combat tracks and feels a little more methodical and appropriate for like slower combat and longer range stuff, like Slavka was saying. So I think it's in a good spot. And then this lovely respace, courtesy of Cakes. If Cakes is still tuned in, this is one of your sounds. So, yeah. There you go. So tomorrow we will finish up with the sneak and the escape versions. You get the movement on the bass. So that is, we're using Vital for that. It's a preset that one of my community members, Cakes, who's a very talented sound designer and producer, sent me. He just sent me all of his Vital presets. But yeah, so it is, let's see how he's doing that. Come on. Oh, wrong track. There we go. Yeah, so it's using Perlin noise on a filter, first of all. And then I believe he's got some FM modulation stuff going on. Let's see here. What all is it? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so it's essentially just like randomized modulation across different parameters. It's very neat. It's a neat way to do things. So, it's a good sound. I wish I could take full credit for it. I tweaked it a little bit, but that is courtesy of Cakes. Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, we like to have fun around here, you know? And this is what I do all day. This is my whole job. This is what I do all day, every day. Is write music for games and sometimes produce for artists and stream on Twitch and give feedback. So it's fun. It's good. But I think we are going to go ahead and wind down for today because we got a bunch done. We got the combat version in a good spot. We've got the exploration version in a good spot. Like I said, we will do the sneak and escape layers tomorrow, as well as some feedback, of course. Thanks, Jake. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate you guys hanging out as well. But let's, should we go raid somebody, perhaps? Who all is on right now? Thanks, Slavka. I got your cool string swells in there, Slavka, over the, that you liked from earlier over the ambient version of things. So I think you guys will like it. But let's let's see who is on right now. Protostar is playing Marathon. Does anybody have anybody cool to go raid on the music front? I'm not seeing anybody super cool. Anyways, we don't need to do a raid. It's all good. If Chris Bedden was on, I'd go raid him, but I don't think he starts streaming until later. So, anyways, well, thank you guys again for hanging out. I appreciate it. And we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, doing the thing. So, I hope you guys have a great night, evening, afternoon, morning, whatever it is, wherever you're at. And we'll see you tomorrow.